You're listening to the Let Over Time podcast with David Sargent and Korey Bartos. It is November 22nd, not 2005, 2025. And I'm told by some of my, silly friends on the internet that Mercury is in retrograde, which is why I probably am having so many technological issues with all of my equipment this week.
Of course, has
I
to be
don't
that.
I don't know how that works, but apparently that's why I was told is Godspeed to me, and that Mercury is in retrograde. So we have kind of a lot. We've been very busy. We've both been shooting quite a lot, but just life and the holiday season and everything gets the better of everybody. So
Yeah.
um, we got a few good photography topics. We'll see where this episode leads us, but as always, you got a coffee today? Do you want to
I
talk?
do have coffee. This
We
is
don't
my
do
second
morning
coffee of
shows.
the day.
Nice,
This is an Americano made with a half calf blend of our Dead River blend and our decaf. It's really nice, balanced, little nutty. Love it.
nice. I had to go to run an errand downtown Kalamazoo, and I haven't been to Factory Coffee in a long time. And now that I have an espresso machine, I've never bought a bag of their Wild Child blend, which
Ooh,
is just their espresso blend that they use in house, and it's quite good. I've always been
nice.
impressed with their shots, so I made a little double latte. But I'm out of whole milk, so I'm drinking oat milk, which is sad, but I'll get over it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so we haven't had a morning show in a while. I much prefer them.
me
Um,
too.
Other than being incredibly stressed out about external things, it is much nicer to kind of wake up, plan the show, get on here.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have a lot to talk about. Did you want to kind of split topics? We've both been birding. We've both obviously seen the Northern Lights, which if you follow us on Instagram, you have seen a lot of that. How would you like to
Yeah,
begin?
why don't we go topic by topic and then go back and forth on each one?
Sounds good. So how's the birds been?
So I only really had two sessions in what is it, November now? Yeah, in November since the last episode. Um, the first session I had was because someone had alerted me. I think that might have been Kurt, that there were horned grebe sightings. And that's like, I guess if you've been listening, I've been saying it on the podcast. That's been like, I want this. This is my target. Like, for no good reason other than I've never seen one. I've had luck with pied-billed grebes. We have plenty of those around. But these other grebes are pretty much only migratory. And so if I'm going to see them, they're only going to be around for a couple of days. So I went out the first day and I did not see a horned grebe. I did get some images, and none of the images really from that session were good because all the birds were pretty far out. So if you're looking in the drive, you're only going to see the other owl picture I'll talk about later. But none of the grebe shots were very good. I had the first day I went out and I saw a couple different ducks, and I saw, I believe, a loon and some other things, but I did not locate a horned grebe. I did locate a western grebe and a red-necked grebe, and so that was really encouraging. I got back actually to the cafe before I went home, and we have another barista who's got a, I guess, a history with working with another state's version of the DNR. So they have like conservation history, and they're I don't know if they would call themselves a birder, but they're very enthusiastic about birds and migration and things too. So they were helping me kind of identify what I did have, and it looked like western and redneck grebe was what I got the first day. So I, talked with some of the other photographers in our Finch group, and some of the other ones did identify and had pictures of the horned grebe as well. So I was like, okay, it is out there. I just didn't spend enough time, didn't look in enough locations. So the next day I went back. I think it was the next day, and I spent a little bit more time, and I located the western grebe, the redneck grebe, and finally the horned grebe at the very end. They were
Nice.
kind of far. So later on, if I can find the correct pictures, maybe I'll throw them on the Discord or something. But it was nice to find. And with these things, especially with grebes, I don't know why they're always so elusive for me.
Sure.
Like even just pied-billed grebes, I have to be really knowledgeable about like where they like to be and be in place way ahead of time, like near my house for the pied builds. And so I'm not that surprised that I couldn't really get close to them. But it was really, really nice to be able to check that one off before the end of the year. Horned grebe I got. So both of those days we had snow. The first snows of the year have come through. Nothing's really stuck to the ground yet, but we had a couple of heavy snow days, and that was both of those days were that. So the day prior to me getting the first set of grebes, there were sightings of a pair of snowy owls. And so after I got my grebes on the second time, I decided, okay, before I go home, I'm going to go to where those snowy owls were located. And so I went out to Lakeshore Drive. I recognized the rocks that other people were sharing photos of that the
Nice.
owls were on. And I was like, those look like the rocks next to the dome on Lakeshore Drive. So I parked where I could nearby and just started walking up Lakeshore Drive on the sidewalk a little bit, literally scanning with my eye through the lens, through the viewfinder, just scanning the rocks back and forth. And I swear it only took 20 seconds before I scanned and I said, "Oh, dang, there it is."
That's
I
sick.
don't I don't get that lucky. Obviously, um, I'm excited because I haven't seen an owl since 2017.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And as someone who likes to watch birds and shoot birds, owls, they're high up on the list of things that um, the ranking list for me. So
Yeah, for
to
sure.
see it finally, it didn't take me that long. Uh, and it was kind of in a nice spot. Usually, sometimes when I see snowy owls, dude, they're on top of a McDonald's. They're on top of a like utility box or something.
Right.
This one was on rocks. It looked fairly organic. I was able to kind of use foreground composition techniques a little bit to layer the image a little bit, and I was very, very happy with the limited amount of effort I had to spend to get that sighting. So that was my bird session, I guess.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. So I got it up on the screen here.
Yeah.
The snowy, and obviously damn, you can punch in. That's a pretty sharp. Is that with your 500, I imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just such a sharp lens. It's sick.
I love it.
Yeah. Because like with the atmosphere and a little bit of snow and everything like that, if you don't have a really sharp lens, that's a pretty hard environment to get like crystal clear shots.
For sure.
Sometimes if it's just autofocus or if it's just, atmosphere stuff, things like that, you'll get a little bit of kind of just nastiness from cheaper zoom lens that aren't super sharp. But that's tack sharp. That doesn't even look like it was snowing until you look up in the water area where you can see all the snow moving.
And on that topic of clarity, one thing I thought was interesting was I noticed while shooting grebes, when I was punching in crop mode, like looking far away at these grebes, I was noticing like heat distortion effects in winter, which is interesting because it's the difference of temperature between the air and the water, I believe,
Yeah.
where you still see heat distortion in the middle of a blizzard, basically.
Yeah, you'll get tons of mirage, and we were doing it when we were doing the short ear owls across those big snowy fields, just between like the heat coming out of the like cattle barns,
Yeah.
and then if the sun were to hit, like say the sun opens up for a little while, you're in shade and it's in the sun, that's like 10, 15 degrees. It doesn't feel like it because it's negative 10, but
Yeah.
it's enough to cause, especially at like 5, 6, 700 mil, you're starting to see a ton of it.
I also was reading like last month or so that somebody was noticing with whatever lens they had for birding, they had an extra long hood on it. The hood being black, the sun was beating on the inside of the hood and
Getting it hot.
causing the same thing right in front of the lens. And so they took some gaffer's tape and like it was like lighter colored and that fixed it,
Yeah.
which I thought was very
It
interesting.
can help. If I'm not shooting directly into the sun, if the sun's behind me, I'll pull the hood off for sure.
Ah,
All the time. So the same thing happens when you're doing long range precision shooting because you have essentially a very 30x scope, and then along the whole sight line is like a 24-inch barrel, and I usually have like a 7-inch suppressor, and suppressors get very, very hot.
yeah.
So your mirage, it makes it hard to even see the target after 10, 15 shots out of a high power precision rifle. So same thing. Always
Yeah.
just long opticals with lots of heat.
For sure.
Pretty
So
crazy.
how about you? How's the birding been?
It's been quite good. I didn't prepare any bird photos, but we've just been trying to get out a little bit. We got a little trip planned to San Antonio, which will be fun. And we found, what was it, a couple weeks ago? When was this now? The days are going crazy. There was a little shrike sighted
Ooh.
at one of our, go-to places here in Lansing. And we go out there, and I was like, oh no, there's like these two people. I could see them already walking up the trail where we're gonna head. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is gonna be so annoying. And because it's a little bird, right? And a little predator bird that's like flying around trying to hunt. And I
Yeah.
was like, we're never gonna see this thing if these people are just like moseying through this area. And so I'm starting to like hoof it a little bit and get to the trailhead. And then there's a power line that goes all the way across it because it's Michigan State University, like kind of agricultural biology kind of. It's a location for that kind of stuff. Um, and I see it. I was like, "There's a Shrek right on that
Oh.
that line right there." And these people are just boop, boop, and I'm like trying to catch up to him. I'm like, hey, excuse me, like I don't want to be a jerk or whatever, but we're like trying to see this bird, and then they just were like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, it's like right there. I'm just trying to get it, and they just like didn't get it. They didn't
Oh.
understand. And it was like kind of annoying. Like I was like, can I get ahead of you for a second? I just want a clear picture, and then it starts flying away.
Oh
And
no.
then we get to the end, and I got a couple of photos, and then we're like, I kind of hoof it because I see it
Yeah.
goes like on this tree, it goes up on this pole down the trail a good ways, and I'm a fast walker, so I get decently ahead of them. But I'm sitting there trying to shoot it. A kestrel comes and scares it away from where it was hunting. I didn't get any great photos of the kestrel, but it like shoot it away, went up on the post, and then I was watching it for a little while. And these people just walk up to, there's like a cross section, which is where both of these birds are hunting, and they're just like, and I'm like, you guys are killing me. Like, you see that I'm like behind a blind, and I'm like very much trying to get
Oh,
this photo, man. Like, just cool it for a minute.
that's
Um,
rough.
and I was like, okay, well, we're never gonna see that bird again. And we get a couple more snaps. I don't get anything great of him. I just get like, just a stupid photo of him on a little power line. But cool bird, lifer. I hadn't seen any shreks like that. They're like cute little death machines,
Yeah.
which is funny. They look like cute little birds, but they're just out
Yeah.
there eating rodents and stuff. Um, but then it's also, it's picking up with duck season, and we had gone up to Oscoda a couple of times where, my parents finally met Elle's parents, and we were kind of like planning some wedding stuff, and there was, I think, two, maybe three different types of scoter
Mm.
up there that we were trying to get. Much like the grebes and stuff, like when they're kind of coming through during the winter, if you're not on a small pond and you don't get there kind of early, a lot of waterfowl just will be like super, like, 800 yards into the lake, and
Yeah.
you're like, well, I can see it, I can identify it's a. So I didn't get like a scoter shot that I think is awesome or anything, but we did
Yeah.
find them. Um,
I
and
also did see white-winged scoter on the day that I saw the grebes, and
that's
I was
cool.
out on the break wall, and I had to go, and it was windy, and the snow was whipping me from the side, and I had to walk. I looked
Yeah,
like a lunatic on the
yeah.
break wall.
We did that on there's a little boardwalk out in East Tawas, and we walked out it to try to find, like, there was a surf scoter, a white wing scoter, something else. I think there was a black scoter there, or else we were looking for him the other day. But just, trying to get out while it's still
Yeah.
like somewhat nice, because we're gonna go out a lot when it's cold, because we're gonna go find all the ducks. We want like pintails and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been fun.
Good.
I'm excited to go down to San Antonio because San Antonio has a lot of our friends from our Mexico trip.
Sure.
There will be some of those guys like green jays and just like cool, neat birds, but they also
Yeah.
have caracaras, which I really want to photograph.
Mm.
Which is basically like this really sick looking eagle. And I guess they're like somewhat common, but they also are one of the few places in the United States that has more kingfishers than just the belted. So you can
Oh,
get a ringed kingfisher there,
cool.
which kingfishers are like without a doubt my favorite bird.
I wasn't aware there was more than just the belted in the States anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's just because like right in like the Yucatan, you can get I think you can find a green one down there too. There's a couple of the like really small ones that you can get down there, and the ringed kingfisher looks pretty similar to a belted.
Okay.
But it's like it's different.
Yeah, fair.
Different enough, at least, because if I want to get all the cool ones, I have to go to like Baghdad and like the Horn of Africa and Asia to get like all
Yeah,
the really like the black and white
right.
kingfisher and all that stuff. So that's that's for another time. We don't have going to the Horn of Africa money or time right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was good. It was nice to be able to get out and get some birding going.
Yeah.
Still kind of finding myself going to the A7CR for like casual birding just because
Sure.
of the reach.
Mm,
It's hard to beat 900 field of view, you know.
yeah.
Once you can punch in and I'm still getting 26 megapixel shots,
Right.
you're like, do I need something fast? Like I'm shooting ducks. I don't think I need to bring the A93 out today.
Right.
Um,
Does that just make you want A12 more?
yes and no. It's just not necessary, right? Like
Right.
it's definitely becoming part of like the tool for the job kind of situation. Like if I was
Yeah.
going to go out and get kingfishers, the A93 is coming with me.
Yeah, for sure.
If I think I'm going to get into even like osprey or something where I'm going to get like hunting birds,
Yeah.
pretty much any hunting birds, then I definitely prefer having the A93. Especially if I know I can get kind of close. Small birds are like birds off the shore. It's just nicer to have just tons and tons of freaking reach if you can have it.
Sure.
So, and I generally will bring both. So if I really have to switch, I can. It'll be either in the car or in my bag.
That makes sense though. Right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Fast birds, fast camera.
Yeah, before I get into the next shared topic here with the Northern Lights, I had a quick blurb about the A93 actually. So
Yeah.
I've finally been able to use it more, and I actually can bring up a couple of photos. So I was finally able to be in an environment where not only the global shutter was like valuable for the lighting, but having a truly silent shutter without without any like kind of weird banding, without any
Yeah.
kind of weird issues was super cool. I didn't send any of these photos to you, so I'll just kind of describe them. If you saw them on Detroit Gunworks, then you would have already seen them. They're very simple,
Oh,
but
okay.
they're just these little like office rooms that I was photographing like an armorer's course in, and to be able to get really clean, even light from like just fluorescence, and it was
Yeah.
mixed lighting. They weren't even all the same color. Like it was the worst. Like if I had an A7 IV only, I'd walk in there and go, oh my gosh, because you're like, it's just like normal speaking voices. It's not like a big room. It's just a little office room with like 10 dudes learning how to do some armorer stuff.
Sure.
And like you just click, 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 like, oh, it would make me miserable. So fully silent, just doing my thing, like talking, being completely part of the crowd, but then them not even noticing that I'm taking all these photos and stuff was super epic. Because like they don't
Yeah.
want to hear that shutter go off every 10 minutes or whatever.
No.
Um, so that was pretty cool. It's been nice to be able to actually have some more reasons why this works out really well and why
Yeah.
why people are looking at like the stacked sensors and the electronic shutters as they work. Because like I haven't done a wedding since I've been using any of these higher end Sony cameras.
Sure.
And honestly, a lot of the weddings that I've shot out of the couple or whatever, they were like noisy enough that it didn't matter. Like the mirrorless shutters are not big old ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. So it's like it's just
Right.
like and like nobody minds.
Yeah.
But in that kind of thing where you're like people are learning and you're like kind of creeping around them and stuff, that would be so distracting to me. It'd be
Yes,
it'd be pretty
for
bad.
sure.
So um, that was pretty sick. I was pretty into it. And then the Northern Lights,
Yes.
which I put it to the test in a way that I hadn't expected either. Which I don't know if you want to lead into how your Northern Lights went.
Why don't you talk about yours first?
Was this the 12th or the 11th? Was that kind of when this was?
Oh gosh, I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
That's
So,
that's I think mine was 12/13. The 11th I think was the day that it was cloudy everywhere
okay. Yeah,
in
mine. So,
Michigan.
okay, my nights, it looks like mine's the 12th. So I guess I'll just pull these up. So, once it gets cold and it's dark at 5 p.m., she doesn't see sunlight almost any day.
Yeah.
She goes into the hospital, it's a void, and then she leaves and goes in when it's dark, and she comes out when it's dark, and
Yeah.
it's really hard on.
That's
I mean, it's hard on
miserable.
anybody. I'm sure some of you also work a job where you go right into work in the morning and you're just coming out at night, and it's brutal.
I had an office job like that. It sucked.
Oh yeah, I used to work at the library, and my office was internal, so there was no
Ugh,
windows in it. It was like in the center of the building. It's
so
brutal.
bad.
Um, so the 11th, she's like desperate to go out, and I'm like, baby, it's gonna be so cold because it was freezing. I was like, there is zero sky if you look outside. It is gray, low clouds across the
Hmm.
entire thing. We go out to Sleepy Hollow anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm down. You're gonna really hate it tomorrow. Like you're gonna be really tired at work. It's gonna be brutal. Whatever. Let's do it. We go out there and she like wants to walk around and I'm like, I'm actually freezing outside. Like I don't like I can see the whole sky. There's nothing and I'm freezing. Like I'd rather sit in the car. And I don't really want her creeping around the state park when there's like a few cars there and there's
Yeah.
no, staff, there's nobody there. I don't want you creeping around by yourself in the woods. Like I'm good. So like please don't go, but if you're going to go out by the like I'm not going. And she was getting kind of bummed out. And these people, there was like three cars that were in the one nice back parking lot. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, they were probably waiting for the lights. All of their like super like 2020 car super LED lights, like they had their brights on. I was
Hmm.
like, so even if there is something happening, none of you guys can see it because your eyes are just like
Yeah.
completely tiny pupils. You're like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So
This is
frustrating.
like a new car automatic lights thing. Like some cars just can't turn the lights off. It's
Turn
like,
your car off.
yeah, right,
Start a
right.
fire. What are you doing? Like, we're out looking at the sky. We need you to shut your cars off. Dumb that new cars do that.
Yeah.
So it's brutal. We go home. She's sad, whatever. And then we're like, well, that's probably not even the nicest part of it because I can't remember. You would know better than me. There was like a little guy that started it, and then we were waiting for like a huge like X class something or another like the next day. Is that correct?
Oh
Something like
yeah,
that.
actually, so the smaller solar flare was the first one to hit, and that caused the bigger show behind all the clouds. The
Okay.
bigger solar flare caused a smaller show.
Okay, so that's crazy because for me, I thought the night that we had on the 12th was nuts. I thought it was super beautiful. Like where we were, we could see
The
everything.
night of the 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the bigger solar flare that caused a smaller show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right
It
on.
was actually wilder the night of the 11th.
Well, that's crazy. We didn't see anything, so
Right.
it didn't matter. And like, so I have a shot up of my Riata shot right now, and like this is epic. This was like I could see all of this, like obviously much dimmer because this is a couple second exposure. What was I shooting? I think like 1.6 of a second.
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually 3.2 seconds at 1.4 ISO 1250. So pretty clean shot. And this is actually comped. I pulled focus to the car and then I pulled focus to the sky.
Yeah.
Because if you want your foreground element to be sharp, you kind of got to do that at 1.4.
Mhm.
But we were just up at her sister's and I was like, okay, well, there's not like anything neat around here. So we got to start figuring out what we're going to do for a subject because everybody on the internet, I know we've had this exact same conversation. I'm going to reiterate it for those who maybe don't do Northern Lights stuff, and it gets more popular every time it happens. So everybody's going to take photos of the Northern Lights. Your phone, even if you get like those super cool phone shots, and you will, because it's pretty epic. If it's just the sky, nobody cares. You won't care. You'll look at it and you'll care a little bit because you'll be like, I took this and like I was there. Find your partner, find your dog, like put something if there's nothing around that's pretty into the shot, and then you have infinitely more interesting photo where you're like,
Put
this
it
is
on a timer and put yourself in the shot.
yeah, exactly. So like this is a 1990 Buick Riata. I drive a very silly car.
I love
Uh,
your car.
it's very neat. I get a lot of compliments on it because people don't know what it's like the Porsche we have at home, but it's
Yeah.
a Buick. It's sweet. And there was nothing around, and we were kind of surrounded by trees. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the lights reflecting off of my Riata. It'll look sweet, and
Yeah.
it worked out perfectly good. Um, in addition to that, I had kind of a time lapse going. I still haven't edited those. I haven't had time with sales and stuff happening, but um, I actually pulled out the A9 III, which you would have seen these shots too. So these are the ones of like Elle looking up, and you can see the red reflecting in her
Yeah, those
glasses.
are nice.
And these are handheld with a 51.4, and I think these are probably at point 0.6 of a second. Yeah, so hand holding point
Half a
0.6 of a,
second.
yeah, just a little. And I mean, they're clean as long
And it just
as
gets so much more fun to shoot when you can excuse me, when you can do those shutter speeds because it opens up options.
right. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just like, hey, baby, like stand there for a second. And I'm manually focusing, and I'm just like snapping off these photos. And like I was doing the same thing. Like I'd pull focus to her, and then I'd pull focus to the sky because I was wondering if I was gonna kind of flip them. I didn't end up like comping them. I thought it would look kind of bad, but just because like 50 is a little telephoto, it's not
Yeah,
flat enough to do that without getting like kind of some artifacting and stuff and needing to do a lot of cleanup.
sure.
So it was actually just cool to flip between the two photos. But then I very precariously, I think I had a Glock magazine and a wallet that I stacked up so I could put my A9 III vertical on the trunk of a Honda Civic. So I could get these two photos of her and I, like looking up at the sky, and then I'm like kissing her cheek or whatever. But like, this is stuff that you frame and keep in your house.
Yeah.
Like this is epic. Like she's got a big smile on her face. I'm just like, okay, I'm just waiting to hear, I was like waiting to hear a click, but I had silent shutter on, so like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we went down the street after a little while with her sister and brother-in-law. Um, and then there's just this big field, and it's like super green, and there was some other cars hanging out, and
Yeah.
so we were just hanging out under the lights, and Bob was trying to convince us that Android phones are better than iPhones, and even though his photos were better than ours, his phone still isn't better than ours. So
And for the listeners, this was relatively meaningful for you guys to try to get out for these Northern Lights because it's been about a year since you proposed, right?
true, yeah. So that's kind of why we were hoping to see them at the Sleepy Hollow, because that's where
Yeah.
I proposed, which I've talked about on this episode. You could see it on my Instagram and stuff if you're curious. But yeah, we're just a month past the. Actually, yeah, the 11th would have been a month and a day,
Yeah.
because it was October 10th. But yeah, so it's kind of become our thing, and we've caught most of them since that we can see downstate. We caught them in Oscoda in May that same year and everything like that. So it's just kind of like our vibe is
Yeah.
trying to set up a time lapse and like dance under the northern lights and stuff. So always fun, always
Yeah.
fun, always cool.
Keep
And
that going for as long as you can. It's only going to get harder as you get older, but that's a nice kind of thing to
yeah,
have.
yeah, it's sweet. You have a nice little selection of shots here
Yeah.
from your lights. Yeah, so you went out the next day even.
Yeah, the night of the 12th and stayed through like I think I got home at like 2 a.m. on the 13th.
Oh yeah, okay, that's it then. Yeah, it's because you were these are past midnight.
Yes.
Got it.
So Tony and I, Vision and Tone, we wanted to plan this out a little bit because it was going to be cloudy in Marquette in Ishpeming on in that central part of the UP where we are. Well, I guess a little more western. So there was a huge cloud bank. So I used the Windy app. I used Clear Outside, and kind of coordinated what it looked like where those clouds were coming from. They were coming out of the west. They were moving east, and it looked like that big cloud bank was going to roll over Marquette and stay there until probably about 11, 12 o'clock at night. And being the time of year it is, we could start shooting at like 8 o'clock at night if we wanted to. So I looked at the map for the clouds and said, hey, if we drive an hour to the west, it looks like we could actually start shooting an hour earlier than anybody could be. So that's what we did. We drove to Lance. If anybody knows of Canyon Falls, that's where Lance is. You probably know Canyon Falls more than Lance because there's not much else in Lance. It's a cute town, but that's kind of why people go through that area. And also to get like to the Copper Harbor area, you usually go through that way. So first we found a location we'd never been to, that looked north. Found Second Sand Beach. This beach obviously is probably going to be pretty popular for the locals, but being the time of year it is, we're past tourism time now. Like fall colors and everything are done. So we pulled up, and there were probably maybe 4 or 5 other cars there. But it's kind of nice because you pull up and you just roll through, and to your out the driver's side window is Lake Superior, and it's just car, bunch of trees, car, bunch of trees, car. So we just found a spot that was nicely separated from the other cars and started shooting. We didn't go down the beach much at all because we knew, like, 50 feet down there was going to be somebody on our left and somebody on our right. So it when we got there, it was looking pretty good, and I think we shot for about an hour while there was still some of that leftover cloud coverage rolling out.
Yeah.
And honestly, Tony and I kept talking about it. The exposure times that we were able to get down to at about a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever, mixing in those clouds that were, like, I would say, less than partly cloudy, like less than 50% of the coverage of the sky, added like texture to the sky and to the compositions that made it feel like this painterly, like almost Renaissance painting kind of. So we didn't mind the clouds too much because it's not like they were blocking the northern lights entirely.
Right.
The northern lights were reaching all the way up, direct overhead,
Yeah.
straight over our head.
I have that
And
shot right now with the Viltrox with the trees, and you're looking like straight up into like a eye of
yeah,
this northern light. It's sick.
yeah, and that was so if you see two different angles of the trees, that's literally to the west and to the east. North would have been to Lake Superior. And so it was basically any direction we wanted to look, we could see some kind of northern lights, which
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah, it's sick.
And to even think the night before was much better. Like, I saw pictures from other states where there were no clouds and it looked just crazy. So we were like, this is cool. I can't imagine what yesterday was like, but we'll take it. We shot there for about an hour, maybe more, like 2 hours. And there's only so much you can do with a beach, some trees, and about 50 foot of play. So we got what we could get. I took a little time lapse there, and the lights were looking great. And then we waited for a little bit of a lull. BZ started to go north a little bit, and we could still see the northern lights. But we were like, okay, I think we got what we wanted. So we got in the car, started driving back towards home, but we wanted one more location just in case. And I was like on Google Maps just as he's driving, and I'm like, this sounds crazy, but what if we stopped at Canyon Falls? And I mean, if you think about the layout of where waterfalls are in Michigan, typically you're surrounded by some trees. You're in the woods. There's probably some coverage of branches and things. And I was like, that. This is why that sounds crazy. Maybe we'll get there and see no sky, but at the same time, the leaves have fallen off the trees, and if we were going to be looking up, maybe we could see through. So we got to the pull off for Canyon Falls. We had to park outside the locked gate because we're past tourism season now. So they kind of locked the parking lot. But
Yeah.
we pulled off on the side of the road, hiked our way in. There was just a little bit of like a snow dusting, so not a difficult walk in. And we get to the first outcrop where we could kind of like look upriver to the sky, and we saw northern lights right over, I think it's Sturgeon River, that is, right over that, and it looked great, like really good. So we worked with that a little bit. Tony had a little LED panel light that he brought, and he started kind of like painting the foreground a little bit, and we were working with like bouncing it off of some rocks so that it wasn't super direct. And I was kind of taking some images that he was blending in, or lighting in certain ways, and blending it with other images of mine to get what I wanted out of a kind of like a light painted foreground look.
Yeah.
Not too dramatic, but just enough so that you're not like raising shadows from nothing and
Right.
having overly noisy images.
Right. Yeah, that gets challenging real fast.
Yeah, but I mean, just the northern lights were looking so good straight over Sturgeon River, but the image I had in my mind was looking up at that one main waterfall at Canyon Falls, the big one. So we continued downriver until we got to that like little overlook point, and then we crawled down to almost water level there and looked back up at the waterfall, and it was perfect. It was basically exactly what I envisioned. And I'm so glad it wasn't a bad idea. We went there, and I have to say, of most of the Northern Lights sessions I've ever had, this has to be one of those times where you really like think about the possibility of a composition based on a location, um, weighing likelihoods, right? Like, okay, if we get out there, like, how much are we risking? The time that we're wasting when the lights could be going off and maybe we see nothing. Well, we took the risk, we put the effort in, and we saw exactly what I hoped we'd see. The Northern Lights were straight over that main falls, that Canyon Falls. And again, Tony was kind of working his LED light, and I put one shot in the drive where I'm up above him a little bit and he's below and you can't see him, but you see the effects of his LED panel. And he didn't tell me he was going to be doing this. So I just took advantage of the opportunity and started shooting. So one of them is the horizontal where it's kind of like light painted across from left to right, the whole like canyon walls and stuff with the lights going off above. And so that's a blend of two images where the basically the left half is a blend of the foreground with the right half's foreground. The sky is all part of, I believe, the image that came with the right half. So the sky was basically untouched. It's just that I wanted a composition where all of the canyon's walls, the Canyon Falls cliff sides, were kind of light painted a bit, and I think that really made this image something a little more special for me.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And then I was able to get down towards where Tony was at that point. We swapped places, and I took a vertical. This was the image that I really had in my head,
Yeah.
was a vertical shot looking up at Canyon Falls, seeing the lights above that. And this is the second time now where I've gotten waterfalls with northern lights going off above them, and that's not something you see very much, especially in Michigan. Like
Yeah.
that's like Icelandic stuff, you know?
Yeah. No, it's sweet. It's definitely cool. It's cool to be
Yeah,
able to have access where like you're not necessarily a visitor up there anymore again.
right.
Now that you're up in that area that you can go, well, it's a little bit of a haul, but we can do it.
And nobody's going there.
Right.
Like when you're that's the thing about living up here and probably down there too on these nights where it's like hits the news, is once it hits the news, you got to be creative, because if you don't want to be shoulder to shoulder with somebody, you got to go where nobody wants to go.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what we did.
That was the saving grace of Alyssa and Bob living like 25 minutes north of Lansing.
Yeah.
Because if you just literally turn your head and you look towards Lansing, it's the capital of Michigan. It's so bright, and it
Yeah.
just ruins that whole part of the sky.
Yeah.
So basically, wherever we're at, we can't go east west. We have to go north and just get away from that city.
Yeah, even when we were up on Brockway Mountain, 100 miles away, we could see the light pollution of Thunder Bay.
Right.
So, like light pollution, you definitely have to consider it where you are.
Yeah.
If there's light pollution to your north, you need to drive somewhere else so you put that light pollution out of view.
Yeah, like you can be in a really nice, like isolated. There's a lot of like kind of farmland and isolated stuff like south of Grand Rapids. But if you're trying to see Northern Lights and you're south of Grand Rapids 30, 40 minutes, you're just going to see Grand Rapids. Like it's not going to be great. So
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, that was mine. I'm really happy with a lot of the images that came out of that.
Yeah, heck yeah, it was definitely good. I'm glad. I saw like Rafa had a post where she was like, "This is what it would look like if she like drew like colors on the," and I was like, "That's brutal."
Yeah.
Especially for you guys who being home residents up there, it's like, wow, I'm actually in it and I can't get photos. This is garbage.
Well, also she's a pharmacist and she spends 7 days a week on.
Yeah.
And if she's on, she's mad when that
Yeah,
stuff happens.
yeah. 7 days on, 7 days off sounds really sick until the moment it's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those were all with the Z8, with the 16. I didn't even take the ZF out really. So I had a good time. That camera is such a performer. I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. That thing's sick. It's funny because I'm starting to see in the content sphere people talking about like, can we just talk about how this is still like one of the best cameras that anybody's ever made, like for the price point, because it is. I mean, it's up there. That's where we're at with gear.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess before I get into any of the things that are going to make me sad, let's talk about Orehenge, because I saw I think it was you and Tony's photos, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had our Finch photographer meeting, and it just got brought up that Orehenge was coming up, like literally the next day after our meeting. So some of us were like, "Hey, if you're down, I'm down. Let's go." I think the next day I couldn't make it, and it looked like there was like chance of clouds, and some people got out there, and I can't remember if like people could really see it or not. So the next day, so the second day after the meeting, I got out there. I was able to make it on time, and we were waiting. And for those who don't
I
know,
was gonna ask, yeah, for
yeah,
people who don't know what this is, let them know. I'll pull it up on the screen too.
yeah, in Marquette and in many other places around like Lake Superior's, like across like Minnesota and Wisconsin, I think there are probably, well, I know there are other locations where there are these. They're called ore docks, and in this area, it's pretty rich with iron, and so iron ore gets mined out of this area and gets loaded onto container ships, freighters, and usually it's pretty common to see like rail cars that will dump the iron ore through and over top of these ore docks. And so it's impossible, like almost it's like just this big obelisk structure that's kind of elongated so that rail cars can back in, drop their ore, and back out. And they're pretty high up. They're like probably, I don't know, 3 4 stories high. But in Marquette, the lower harbor ore dock is decommissioned, so it's not used that way anymore. It's just kind of this iconic structure now. And there's been like the city's had plans to do things with it, but for now, it just sits there, and it sits there facing east, such that you could see right through it to the east over Lake Superior. And so twice a year, every year, for the span of like 3 or 4 days in each of those times, the sun rises in just the right position where if you're standing directly in front of the ore dock, the sun will rise through the back of the ore dock and you could see it through its corridor. It sounds silly, and it kind of is, because it almost sounds like Mercury's in retrograde type thing.
Well, I mean, this is a common theme. I mean, they do it for I can't remember what street it is in like New York City, where
Sure. Oh,
it
Chicago, there's a
yeah, and then
street. Yeah,
Chicago there's a street. So like
yeah.
this is a thing. Like it
It
just ends up
is.
being kind of like a moment where you can capture a cool image, and it's just one of
Yeah.
the iconic things. Yeah.
And that's true because I did this for the first time in January. So when I said it happens twice a year, January was the first time it happened this year, and there were I think, I mean, it was like with the wind like probably 20 or 30 below. It was
Jeez,
so harmful to be outside. But there were still 50, 60 people there at the time just to watch. And
that's
so this
crazy.
time, again, like probably 40, 50 people were there. And I think me and Jason and Tony, Kevin, there was a bunch of us, Chris, there was a bunch of Finch photographer members there. And then, yeah, like 40 people from just locals who know what's up. And so we got there. I think I got there about half an hour before sunrise. We got a good spot. I put a 10 stop ND filter on the 16 mil. And so if I was going to be able to, if I was going to commit to that focal length, I needed to be as close up as possible so that I didn't have other people and stuff in my frame.
Right.
So I did that. We were right on the waterfront there with the water just barely touching the tripods and stuff. And 10 stop ND, 30-second exposure. I think I was ISO 64 at f10, and it turned out really nice. I was going to do a composite because I thought I was going to need to blend and do like an HDR, but I didn't need to. This was one image. I got it just right where I could pull those shadows up and with no problems. ISO 64, everything was nice and clean,
Yeah.
and it worked out great. So we got a little bit of the clouds stretching a little bit. The water was super smooth. There were ducks on the water and everything was swimming around. And I didn't do any spot removal, so nothing was taken out. It just was that clean.
Nice.
So I was really happy with that. I took a series of other images too. I had the ZF going around my neck while the Z8 was kind of just on a tripod doing its thing. And so I made a little like compilation of images that were both the wide angle that you see there and some others that I really liked. And then I turned around with my phone and took a shot of all the people that had their phones out with like the
Yeah.
sun right in their faces. Like this is like a little storytelling of what this place looks like 2 times of the year. It's interesting.
Yeah. I have the like dock with those little shacks and stuff
Oh, I
up right now
love
with the
that, dude.
clouds. It's a beautiful shot. Yeah.
The clouds picking up that color. When I looked at the weather the day before, I told everybody in the group, I'm like, hey, this is high altitude cloud. Look for color in the clouds. And so when I started looking around, just to the left there, that's where the fishing boats come in, and so the little shacks there for that, and they picked up the highlights really really nicely in front, and I couldn't not take a photo of that, and I had the 28 to 105 for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's epic. Super
Yeah,
cool.
it was a good time.
Yeah, heck yeah. Especially getting out with just some folks and
Yeah,
doing it because you like it. Like, it's not like you're gonna get
that's it.
award-winning images, and it's not like you're doing crazy stuff. You're just like, this is a thing. It's a moment.
Yep.
It's iconic, and let's ball.
And that's the nice thing about that group is if something's going on, or if nothing's going on, some of us will just say, "Hey, anybody want to be down to go meet up at this thing?" And more than likely, it's like 2 or 3, 4 people will say yes. And so we've been doing that.
Yeah, that's sweet.
It's cool.
It's a good time. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I definitely have always wanted to do one of the city ones. I think some of those shots are so cool, especially like
Sure.
people will bust out like a super telephoto and they'll get like
Yeah.
super huge compression with the sun just massive in between like
Mhm.
whatever the main, road is in Chicago and New York that they do that in. But
I think in January when this comes back around, I'm gonna try with the 500 mil
yeah, you could
and be way far back.
yeah, if done right, I mean it could be super cool.
Yeah.
Um Another really interesting thing that I got to do recently for work was we we do bolt guns at the new job, Detroit
Yeah.
Gunworks here on the Hat, and we went out for opening day. So opening day of rifle season,
Yeah.
and one of the owners of DGW has some property up above the rifle line. So if you're unfamiliar with Michigan hunting rules, basically below, I don't know, somewhere like inside the pocket of your hand across, in below, you can only shoot straight wall cartridges. You can't shoot center fire like 308s, 6.5 Creedmoor
Oh, I
stuff.
didn't know that.
Yeah, so you have to be above that. So zone 1 is all below. Zone 2 is like up towards the UP, and I think there's a third zone, and it has some rules and some regulations I don't know about, but you have to be up into zone 2 to shoot like a 308. And that's kind of what they do at Detroit Gunworks. So we did some deer hunting. I didn't hunt. I just like set up some cameras, and we got like a scope cam so you can see through the scope.
Cool.
I'm not going to share any of that here, especially if people don't like hunting or
Yeah.
anything. But I do have pre-gutting. There was this cool thing. So one of the owners of DGW had his buddy, and his buddy brought two of his like 17-year-old sons,
Cool.
who big avid bird hunters, got a couple of deer. But one of the kids, 17, got a 10-point.
Nice.
Really, really nice buck. And Walden, who's been hunting since he could walk, was kind of going over how you would get a deer and help, and just like kind of imparting knowledge on this kid. So I have those up here. And it was just kind of cool to be doing more documentary stuff that's going to just be on social and like telling more stories about what we do. But it was kind of epic. And ripping guts out of an animal is very gross, but
Yeah.
I have a pretty intimate relationship with the idea of hunting for food.
Yeah.
Chris just shot a bunch of does to like fill the freezer. Like most of them up there
Yeah.
were just hunting to fill freezers, which I like completely back, especially in this area where like this is as fresh farm to table healthy deer as you possibly can imagine. It's just this massive property of like 5 different owners.
And
There's
I
like
think to be clear, that's like 99% of deer hunters everywhere is to
yeah,
fill their
right.
freezers.
Right, yeah. There's I mean
I don't
people,
want anybody thinking it's mostly trophy hunters in Michigan.
no, definitely not. I don't. Trophy hunters need to go other places anyway, just because like the buck just don't get big
No.
enough here.
No.
And for those who are still on the fence and don't really love the idea of hunting, the hunting conservation efforts are so important to basically the entire planet at this point.
Yeah. We have too much deer.
We definitely have too much deer. There becomes issues both like agriculturally and like in the actual natural habitat when predators aren't able to kill all of the deer.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll see huge influxes of like does being hit by cars all up 75 and all
And
up
they spread
94,
disease faster too.
and it gets really bad. So it's super important to utilize hunting. That's why there's tags. That's why they don't just like let it be open season, and they talk, it changes every year for how many you're allowed to get and everything. It's
Mhm.
just know that it's a little bit more thought out than like we're gonna go kill a bunch of deer. That's not how it
No.
is at all. And it's super important. It's really important to the economy in Africa. It's really important to like endangered species conservation in Africa. So there's a ton
Yeah.
of good that happens from hunting.
Yeah, and it's usually much easier, and you have access to, I think, more tags for doe than buck. I think it's like one buck tag a year or something like that.
That's generally you'll get like the
Yeah,
combo where you'll get a 4 point and bigger, and then you can
yeah,
get your doe tags, and then you'll have like a mixed tag and things like that. And there's all sorts of stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, you can't just go out there and start thwacking whatever you want.
Right, right.
And like everybody up there that I know is like super vehement about like we don't poach, we don't like allow, you don't accidentally shoot a buck and all that stuff. Like
No,
it's serious stuff. So
right.
but it's cool, and it's a culture that when it's not the caricature that people that don't like it kind of make it, it's really nice. I think it was kind of cool going up there and hanging out in a cottage and kind of palling around with the guys, and then waking up super early and getting out to our spot. I was in a blind. I was hunting with Walden. He had one of his basically his tactical. He's a SWAT sniper, so he had his tactical gear on a tripod, and I was just hiding in the thing. And we actually had a huge buck like walk up behind us and start huffing,
Oh,
and he wasn't set up to turn around and fire at it.
oh,
So we were just like, well, hope we don't get mauled by this giant deer right now. He huffed a little bit and did his thing, and then by the time he kind of shimmied himself around to see him, he was running away,
yeah,
which is pretty cool. But tons of deer up there. It was super beautiful the whole morning. Um, so that was pretty fun. It was something that
yeah.
I haven't done. Here's his crazy tactical gun that he used.
I think
Um,
between the ages of 15 and 17, I hunted. And I think the first one I ever got was a doe. I think what they told me, I didn't know how to measure it at the time, was about 100 to 150 yards uphill with a 30-06, one shot down. And it was a big one too. It was very tasty.
yeah,
I'll say that.
a 30-06 will put a deer down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like venison a lot.
I love it.
I still have never shot a deer, but I get venison from my hunter friends every single year. I like
Yeah.
meat sticks. I like ground. I like backstraps. Um, so thank you, hunters, for doing your thing
Yeah.
and
And I could see
giving me.
myself doing it just for the freezer because I have a chest freezer and man,
Yeah,
meat is expensive.
yeah. I wanna do it at least once.
Yeah.
I'll probably that, and then there's an opportunity that we might go out to Wyoming and do an elk hunt.
Cool.
And I've had elk twice. I think it's delicious.
I think it's good too.
I would love to get an elk. That's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. We know some people out there through the industry that was like, dude, you guys should come out and do an elk hunt with us. And I was like, yes, please. I want to photograph that.
Yeah, for
I
real.
want to document that, make some video, and I would love to fill a freezer full of elk.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. There's a romanticized version of it in my brain for
Same.
how humans exist and like what our relationship to nature is and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. But
And I do love that content. As much as I wouldn't be both feet in as like a hunter up here, I want to be like riding in the back seat with a camera and just be
yeah,
part of the crew. I love it. And if I get a little venison thrown at me, that'd be great.
yeah. Well, and that's part of it, right? Because like I didn't feel like I needed to shoot a deer that whole weekend to
Right.
be involved with the guys and have some beers, and we made like chicken piccata the night before and like just having like a time, right? Like
Dude, that's
just
deer camp. Whether you get deer or not, that's what you look forward to.
yeah. It was just a really good time.
Yeah.
Um, I guess moving on, we're making pretty good time for what we had to talk about, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So my wedding that I've talked about and has changed shape a couple of times,
Oh.
and we haven't decided fully exactly what's going on. We're no longer doing an away wedding. We're doing it up in
Oh.
Oscoda.
Skoda.
Oscoda's beautiful. We already are planning it up there. Everything's going to be great, whatever.
Okay.
But we were going to do the wedding, and then we were going to go out to Yellowstone still, and we were still going to
Oh.
hire the original photographer to do a shoot with us. Then we start getting this and that for the wedding, and I'm like, this is just a lot of money. I like, as much
Yeah.
as I want to bring this person out to shoot photos with us, why don't we do test shoots leading up to the wedding? Why don't we just like do our honeymoon as we fly out to like Glacier? We drive out, whatever
Yeah.
we end up doing, we take our suit and dress and everything, and we just self shoot like a crazy, like multi day. We go do wilderness photography and we do like crazy locational self shooting wedding stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the tentative plan. I'm really excited about it. We're getting a lot of inspo kind of sorted out so I can figure out what I'm going to need to pull off some shots. There's definitely some like top down shots that I want to do of us laying down, stuff that would be
Sure.
like way easier with a thing with a photographer. Sorry, my camera keeps turning off and it's kind of stressing me out. So I'm not on the screen anymore, but um, yeah. So there's some tricky ones, but I think it could be cool. And then we're gonna have some people that wanted to still do Yellowstone come meet us out
Sure.
in Yellowstone.
I shot a wedding for a couple who actually got eloped first at Glacier and had hired an elopement photographer to go with them to Glacier National Park, and that place is gorgeous.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Super sick. So that's kind of why we were thinking that. And we'll figure out where exactly we want to go, but we're gonna try to plan it so we can kind of meet up with people in Yellowstone afterwards.
Sure. Sounds like
But
fun.
it's gonna be a big project. I don't know how I want to try and capture it. I don't know if I want to try and do like a video project for the week, turn it into like a little bit of content too, and like why don't you self shoot your elopement kind of thing, and just
Yeah.
do it like a journal for us because I think it might be fun. Whether I
I
post it
bet
or
you
not.
there's not I bet you there's some number of people who type into YouTube how to save money on a wedding photographer
Right,
and
yeah.
that will hit.
Yeah, so it could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. So that was a fun little exercise for me because now I want to talk briefly about the thing that's stressing me out and making this episode so hard to shoot right now.
Talk about it.
Um, so I am working on a project that's due Monday. I'll talk about it later because I'm like knock on wood. It's like competition of sorts,
Oh,
and I need to edit a video and post it by Monday.
okay.
Um, So I go and I'm like, okay, well, I recently moved all of the data that I had onto a internal 4 terabyte from an external because I wanted Elle to have a backup. So I gave her my external. Uh, I plug it into the dock, and I go to find some footage because I wanted some cuts from some old adventures that I had, and it didn't pop up. And I was like, oh, that's not good. Um, so I plug it into another thing. That didn't work. I plug it into an actual SATA cable to the motherboard and power it from my power supply. That didn't work. So I go to disk
Mm.
management. I see that 3.6 whatever terabytes of storage are unallocated.
Oh,
And I went, oh, sweet.
your
So
stomach dropped.
I moved all of this stuff to this hard drive with the idea that I would soon be wow, my A7CR actually overheated.
Oh, all
Well,
right.
well, that's interesting. Um, I guess I'm going blind. Here, this is what I'm gonna do. No, I can't do that. All right. Well, anyway, I'm gonna keep telling the story. So I go completely unallocated, and I just go. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Do a couple Google searches. For some reason, there's not a major company that has disk like restore software that doesn't seem sketchy as hell. Like
Yeah.
every single one of them is like the sketchiest, like weirdest, does
I've
not
used
seem legit.
Recover. That's the only one that I've had success with.
I think I've used Recover once, like back in the day for like an SD card or something. I think Seagate drives come with I think
Yeah.
it's called like EaseUS or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I might have
Um,
used that as well.
yeah, so there's like a couple or whatever. And so I'm looking, I see this one called Disk Drill. Some people are saying that it's like super good and it's the move. And then other people are like, this isn't legit at all. It'll like and but what was challenging about it was they were saying that it wasn't legit, but I think the issue is that these people were trying to get like a software for free. You're not getting a data recovery software that works worth a damn for free 99. Like
No.
it's just not going to happen. It's too valuable of like a resource. Um so I had to like I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I think these people are mad because this is an expensive software.
Sure.
I think it was like 80 or 90 bucks
Yeah.
for like the base upgrade. And then cuz like there's the free version or whatever, but then you can like look at your data that they found and then you can upgrade to get it or whatever. Which is like it's kind of scummy, but like at least you can install it and see if it even found anything
Right.
before
Right.
you. And I don't think that's how people thought of it. They were just like, well,
Sure.
this is garbage.
Well, now it's just holding your stuff ransom.
Right. And it's like that's I don't think that's the case. I think you wanted
No.
to I
It
think
it kind of proves its worth when it shows you the data you know is there.
yeah, you're like, okay, there's some stuff on here because if it wasn't, then why would you even want to
Yeah.
like buy this?
Right. And
So
people will pay thousands of dollars to a professional person to do this. So if you had access to the software for a fraction of the cost, that's great.
yeah, and like that's the struggle, right? Is like I was like, okay, well, this is the type of thing where I might actually have to send this in because this is all my data. This is like projects from camp that I did like up in Sahala Glacier.
And for you, this is not just personal, this is work stuff, right?
Well, it's mostly all of my personal stuff.
Yeah, well, that's important too.
Yeah.
Just curious. Like,
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
a mix of both of those things?
Most of my work stuff, fortunately for like Works, is backed up well, and it's not that big of a deal.
Okay, okay.
Um, but yeah, it's just like this is the thing. This is like
Yeah.
this is what I need. Um, so hopefully that didn't change on you. I'm playing with something while I'm talking.
I do hear you a little differently now.
Yeah, it's through the camera now. That's my bad. Um, so I love technology. Um, so I get it. I'm starting to see some stuff. I pay for it. I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm just gonna upgrade. It takes like 5 hours to scan through this whole drive and like show me all the files. But I also install it on my laptop and I start playing around with it on my laptop and I find an old drive from when I was at NCMC and because I never formatted it, I would just like delete stuff off it and add things to it. It's just like a drive that has like random files and stuff.
Yeah.
It had a bunch of deleted stuff that I couldn't retrieve on it, which was like fun. I was just like looking through a bunch of stuff. And that was kind of cool. So I was happy to at least get there. It was calming my nerves a little bit. I was like, okay, this program is working. It clearly legitimately can find stuff.
Yeah.
And I let it scan all night. I select all the stuff. I actually grab a 4 terabyte drive and I go to transfer everything that it recovered onto that. I have to go to work, so I drive to Kalamazoo. Elle gets out of work. She gets home and takes a photo. It says like it finished but with errors and it said like I don't know 500 gigabytes of stuff transferred. Great. I get home a few hours later. It's like half files and like it's just a mess, right? It is not what I was hoping it to be. It was totally like devastating. So I started again and I have to do the scan again. And then last night I tried to do like just the most like what I need right now. Woke up, still didn't get through the whole transfer.
And you were saying the scan itself takes 3 or 4 hours?
Yeah. So you got to scan it so it can find all the stuff again. And then you have to select the stuff. And that, yeah, such a nightmare. And then it like kind of bogs your computer down. You can't really use your computer at full capacity because it's obviously using a ton of energy to do all this stuff.
And if it were me, I wouldn't want to touch a thing while it was doing that.
Right, because you're not trying to like mess it up, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I got some of the files off now. I'm still working. I think I'm gonna have to do like less than 100 gigs at a time. Like just like grab this folder, move it over. I have an 8 terabyte showing up today, like a desktop style external, and I'm gonna try and get everything that I need onto that. I will then mirror it to one of my other external drives, and then I'm just gonna save up, and in like a month or so, I'm gonna get a NAS situation sorted out, so I can just. The thing about doing it manually is you have to copy everything, and then you have to copy everything again onto another drive. When you have a
Yeah.
NAS set up properly in RAID, when I move it all to the RAID, like say I put two 12 terabyte drives in there, I'll put everything on the 12 terabyte drive, and then it'll copy it onto
Yeah.
the other 12 terabyte drive kind of automatically,
Yeah.
or more or less. There's some technical stuff there. But then if something were to happen to a partition or parts of that drive, between the two, it can rebuild your data.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just safer to store mission critical stuff, which now I guess I have to go back and reevaluate what I've stored and kind of get rid of the fat that I don't want or need, and then just kind of keep.
Yeah.
Because I started in late 2015 shooting on a GH4, which means
Yeah.
I started shooting 4K in 2016,
Ugh.
which means a lot of that data, which is, I stripped it down a ton. It was only 3.5 terabytes, which is, a lot. It could have been way worse.
Could be for sure.
But
Yeah.
I got rid of a lot of stuff just because I'm like, there's just stuff I don't need. But like, I have like my 2019 Japan trip, which is like
You don't want that to be
eight
lost.
8 days of video that I never did anything with. But you never know. I have like old adventure stuff from camp and things like that I know that I have like little moments that I want for this edit now. And I go, oh, I have like a shot of me on a mountain where I'm like selfieing my like 24 to 105 on an A7S3.
Yeah.
Like, I want that shot real quick. Stuff like that. So take care of your data. If you
Yes.
haven't in a very long time, this is your message right now to back up your things, make sure that your stuff's good, because it is the worst feeling I've ever had to be trying to scramble to get all of my Philippines video, all of that stuff's on that drive. So
And do not treat Microsoft OneDrive or Google Drive as your backup. Just
yeah,
don't. Just get yourself an extra drive. Like at the very least, get a external hard drive like you've got coming in that can just sit there and mirror something off of your main drives on your computer. I use that and a NAS drive, but I have a single bay NAS drive, so it just is a continuous backup of whatever the most recent added items are on my computer. So I actually have a work drive that is everything from I think about 2016 and on the computer, and whatever gets added to the NAS drive hard drive, which is an 8 terabyte. And so if my well, this sucks, but if my house catches fire, they're both gone. But if my computer goes down, everything is still there on the NAS drive. So
right.
you at least have a backup that's away from your computer. Let's say somebody spills a giant jug of water on my computer and it's just fried and nothing is recoverable there. At least the NAS drive is a separate device
Right.
away from the computer and you can still get that. So, and even to the extent of an external hard drive would mostly be safe in a lot of those situations. I guess I would think like an electrical surge on the same, connected to the same supply of power might be an issue, but still get something to back up.
I've had really good luck with 4 terabyte My Passports, and it was only when I moved all of my stuff off of that My Passport and put it on an internal 4 terabyte that I had an issue. So
Yeah.
it's kind of scary when you only have one backup on a mechanical drive because those disks and the magnets and stuff in them can get funky, and you
They
never
don't
know.
last forever.
Yeah, and you never know how they're gonna go. Um, so it's brutal. It's brutal. Data is pretty hard to recover on your own if you're not tech savvy. It's even when you are, it's incredibly frustrating to do right now.
And man,
Um,
you really take for granted your access to stuff that goes back a decade or more until it's not accessible anymore. And then
yeah,
it's devastating.
yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, especially if you do video, you're gonna want to like really well kind of classify and organize your files and keep them pretty tidy.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I have a whole rant that I wanted to go on about specs versus needs versus expectations, but I'll save that for some other time.
Okay.
I did want to just make note of the fact that I've seen an increase in log footage that's ungraded on social media accounts, like big companies having
Okay,
full
because I
videos.
felt targeted, and maybe I shouldn't have,
Hmm.
but I was like, I think I did an okay job on that last project.
No, I don't recall like
It wasn't ungraded, so I shouldn't have
right
felt that way.
right. I like legitimately, even if you just add saturation and contrast to log footage, you're doing better than I've seen major companies
Yeah.
post a whole project where they just like I don't know, maybe they had like some intern try to like render out a video and was like,
Right.
"Oh, it's going super slow. If
I've
I just
seen
like
this before too.
disable the color grade and I can play it back," and then they don't put it back or something. I have no idea,
Strange.
but it's insane. Um, if you need fast delivery, just don't shoot log.
Right.
You don't
That's the
have
point.
you don't have to shoot log. Most people don't need to shoot log because they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand why they want more dynamic range.
Right.
Get it You still have to get it right in camera with log. In fact, it gets much more challenging if you don't know what you're doing to get a good image
Yes.
in the end. The
Absolutely.
log footage is not to be posted. I know like some of you if you do video you're like, "Yeah, Korey, obviously. This isn't obvious."
It's not obvious to people.
It's crazy. So the TLDR that kind of goes into that is there's a lot of people getting into content creation for obvious reasons, even
Mhm.
though you're basically in the movie 300 and the other team is AI trash content that's just being fed to everyone, and a bunch of people like it, which is the most frustrating part because they shouldn't.
It
Um,
almost feels like there's a small subset of people who see ungraded log footage and goes and thinks that's what professional looks like, but because it just looks different, because it shouldn't look like that.
I don't know. That's bad, but the AI slop, like people enjoy the AI slop too. And I'm like, I literally look at it the second I understand that it's AI, I my whole bones don't care.
Yeah.
Like it just because it doesn't matter. If you have like a piece of like an AI thing that you added into like a whole ass video you made, that's fine. Like I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like completely poo-poo your day because you used a little bit of AI. But if you just like typed in a thing on Sora and like made a video and you posted it, or way worse, you're just reacting to AI content and like you're just like, oh yeah, this and like it's just like split screen of you like laughing at a thing. I don't respect you as a person. I am struggling to understand why people actually look at this stuff because
Yeah.
it's insane to me. Like I'm
Yeah.
so desperate for like literally any story, like anything that's just like interesting. That the more people just send me like bad reels, I promise you, the second that I can stop working in social media, I'm going to retire. Like once L is out of residency, I'm just gonna leave and I'm gonna delete like everything but like my light overtime page and like maybe a hidden personal so people can still see some photography I post. But I'm gonna have a website and it's gonna have a PO box. And if you want to contact me and you don't have my phone number, you're not getting my phone number because I'm gonna get a new phone number. You can send me a letter. If you send me a letter, I will respond to you with a letter, and that is how I'm going to communicate with human beings moving forward. Anyway,
Yeah.
so if you're new to creating content and you're looking at these cameras and you're looking at people like me or people that are way more professional than me talking about something like the Nikon ZR or the A7S III FX3 kind of thing, and they're talking about all these specs that they want, don't look at what these people are saying and go, oh, so the Nikon ZR is this $2,000 camera that can shoot red raw and it does all this stuff. You don't know what you're getting into. No one should go buy the Nikon ZR if they want to shoot in H.265. It's not that great in
Yeah.
H.265. It's
Right.
much softer. You're not getting that quality that those guys are talking about. You have to utilize those really insane, like very large file sizes, and you have to understand the post workflow to make that stuff valuable to you. That camera is useless to you if you want to shoot quick content. You should absolutely get a Sony or a Lumix if you want kind of straight out of camera, like really easy to use stuff for social media.
In the ZR, while it's a great camera, you're not really utilizing its fullest potential if you don't also have red cameras, because its benefit is to be able to match that color
Right.
profile. It's still a good camera, but yes, I totally understand. If you don't know what it is to grade log footage or understand the weight of raw footage,
Yeah. Well,
it's
and
not for
there's
you.
there's just like it doesn't have the tools to make shooting raw helpful. Everybody that likes it and is using it is like, it's really great. I've been figuring it out, but it doesn't have good waveforms. It doesn't have like false color or anything. So I have this crazy, awesome, beautiful screen, but I still need an external monitor just so I could have proper like monitoring of the exposure,
Mm.
so that when I put it into an NLE, I can actually do anything with
Do
it.
you think people are kidding themselves when they say that they don't need a monitor? Because I've seen both.
No, I think the monitor on it's incredible. The thing that it doesn't do is exposure tools.
Sure.
So like if you are going to
I
try
have
to
waveforms on the Z8. Does the ZR not? Or are they just not
it,
good?
they're probably just not good if they do
Oh,
have
okay.
them. Um but like, so I follow Brandon Talbot. He's got one.
Yeah.
His Discord's really interesting because there's a bunch of people also that have the ZR and they're all kind of talking about it. And I've been watching it,
Yeah.
and some people relatively new, really struggling with figuring out what to do, and
Uh,
then people kind of like helping them out.
yeah.
And it's just not. If you're trying to create content, you do not need an FX3 shooting an S-Log3. If you
No.
don't know what that is, like, the data rates are brutal on that. Like, it's
Mhm.
still 600 megabyte or megabits a second. You don't want that. You want to shoot picture profile 11 S cinematone. You're still going to want to add a little saturation and contrast regardless, but you're going
Yeah.
to want to make sure that your white balance is correct. You're going to want to make sure that your exposure is right, like in camera.
Yeah.
And then and only then can you drop it into a thing and it'll be fine. And you're like,
Mhm.
sweet. But yeah, it's like it's kind of because I'm just seeing these like newer people go, oh, then I'm gonna get the ZR, and then they're just not gonna enjoy doing video. You're just it's not a beginner camera. And I really don't think any of the Nikon stuff is super user friendly yet for like content creators who just want to plug and play anyway. Like, you
Right.
need an A6700 or like the ZV series. The ZVE1 is still like the best. I think with the creator discount it's like $1,800, and it's literally A7S3.
I would absolutely agree with that. Actually, Nikon's ecosystem, like the menus, the software, it is not user friendly for the absolute beginners, because maybe back in the day they were, but their menus and their systems have become very complicated and convoluted.
Yeah. Well, and it's just there's so much to it. They haven't fleshed out like their smaller codecs for video projects yet.
No,
So
no.
like, and that's fine. I mean, you can still utilize it. I would probably be fine if I picked it up and was like, okay, what do I got to do to make
Yeah,
this run kind of like my Sony?
I very much miss S Cinetone.
Yeah, right. Like the A7 IV with S Cinetone is like disgusting because you don't really have to do anything to it for social
Right.
media to make it look fine, but you can just like make it a little punchier by doing like what a beginner would do, which is like, oh, I just want a little bit more contrast and maybe a little more
Yeah.
color. And then
Yeah.
you're like, sweet. You can adjust the exposure just a little bit one way or the other, and you're like, that looks good.
Yeah, like in the Nikon, I think it's between neutral and flat, and flat is far too flat on just the regular codecs, and then neutral is far too contrasty.
Right.
And so I'm always like, well, I don't want to use neutral, so I'm going to go to flat for this. And then in my editing on my phone, which I know is like, who the hell does this? But this is me. For work, I throw everything to my phone really quick because they're easy to work with, and it's still like I have to push it way too far. So I wish we had a very similar to S Cine tone codec on
Right.
the Nikon system.
Yeah.
Miss that.
It's definitely pretty awesome. And the same thing with Lumix. Like Lumix does a really good job at having like friendly ways to have a slim codec that just like looks kind of good.
Yeah.
And but they've been doing video on mirrorless longer than every other company. So
Yeah.
I would be very distressed if they didn't have it somewhat figured out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That thing just like made me kind of lose my mind a little bit the last couple of weeks because I'm watching this and I'm like, everybody just needs to kind of shut up and realize that if you're really just making content, you can go to an A7 IV for the next 2 years. You can go to
Totally.
any of these, an A7C2. You can go to the Lumix S5 II, and you can have a really good time.
You
You're
can
gonna,
get an original A7C for pretty cheap still, and I'd be totally happy using that.
yeah, you don't have S Cinetone though. Like
Oh, true.
it
Oh,
got
you're right.
that like next step up. The A7 IV and beyond is just like where it was like this is easy mode. Anybody can use one of these cameras and have a nice light codec, make good video, get
Yeah.
like a cheap like the 35 mil prime, and just have a good time.
Yep.
So I got to figure out why all of a sudden my A7CR is overheating.
Okay.
So we're gonna call it. I'm
All
gonna
right.
try to stop ranting because I could go on about this for a long time. I actually tamed my heat about it pretty good. So I'm proud of myself there because I was not gonna go well. But
And we should acknowledge there are gear things we definitely could have talked about, but I think it probably will be saved for a bigger conversation on the next episode, huh?
yeah, so I'd like to. This is episode 59. I would like to get episode 60 out before the holidays.
Oh, for sure.
And then in that episode, we will do another photo share announcement. So hopefully, well, I'm gonna be kind of gone from the 12th to the 19th. So
Yeah.
hopefully before December 12th,
Squeeze it in there.
we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
squeeze one episode in, and then
We're gonna want to.
yeah, get some gear stuff. We'll have some Sony announcements here in a couple weeks, so it'll get spicy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's an episode.
59. That was a good one. Full of stuff we actually did.
Yeah. Please, hit us up, join the Discord, get into the conversation. It's been light, but hopefully we can start getting some of these technical issues ironed out and pump episodes out a little easier.
Yeah.
Very soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This was a good one to watch on YouTube. If you just listened, you probably missed a bunch of photographs you would have liked to see. So maybe go back and look.
Yeah. And my camera kept turning off, so you didn't even have to look at my face the whole time. So I'm currently an Imaging Edge logo. So
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
yep.
All right.
Alrighty, catch you in the next one.
Peace. See you guys.